Hi guys, I'm Brian McCauley and welcome to the McCauley's Design Workshop. So recently I had a viewer ask some questions about my Incra TSLS joinery system. He watched a video that I recently put out, the Make It Forward project video, and I used this system pretty extensively. I use it extensively anyways, but I used a little more in that video than I normally do. Not only did I use the regular table saw fence setup, but I also used the router table setup to cut half-blind dovetails. It's a really great system for people who use a small shop who have a router table set up in the extension wing of their table saw. So if you'd like to learn more about the Incra TSLS joinery system and how I use it in my shop, stick around. So let's talk a little bit about how this system actually works. It provides precision accuracy and repeatability. And so the way it does this is the whole mechanism is mechanical. There's a lead screw that runs along this arm on the fence with threads that are every 32nd of an inch. And it has this cam lock, which also has a screw in it with matching threads. So when I want to change the position of my fence, I move it to wherever I want it, and I lock it down, and I know that anytime I want to make this exact same cut, I can, because of the mechanical nature of this. I don't have to rely on looking at a scale, moving my fence and locking it down, and hoping I'm exactly where I was before. I could be off a couple thousandths of an inch, which might not be that big of a deal. But I guess I would just rather know that everything is exactly the same way as it was the last time I made that cut. If you're batching out a lot of pieces, that's great. You can do that with a regular table saw fence as well. Let's say you mess up a piece. I just had a conversation about this on Twitter with somebody. You're batching your pieces out, you move on to the next part of your project, and a piece breaks, or for whatever reason you need to make a new piece. Well, you got to go all through the setup process again to make that piece. And with a standard regular T-style table saw fence, you might be off a little bit. And like I said, it might not be that big of a deal, but it could be. With this system, no matter what, I come back to it an hour later or 2 years later, it will be exactly the same. Let me show you how that works. When you first set up the system, you attach the rails to your table saw, just like the rails on your normal fence would go on. And then you add these nuts and washers. And those act as stops for the fence carriage. So it's very important to set these up accurately because they're very important in zeroing out your fence. So once the fence is set on the rails and is locked down against those stops, the first step in zeroing it is placing the fence so it just touches your blade. The next step is to lock the arm in position and slide the magnetic scale so that the 0 reads underneath the cursor. Once this is done, your fence is zeroed. So now that my fence is zeroed, I know that if I take this and I set it to 1 inch, I make some cuts. I move the fence to 6 inches. I make some more cuts, but I need to go back to that 1 inch setting for whatever reason. It's that easy. And I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the cut that I make is going to be 1 inch. Every single time, all day long. So what if you need to make a more precise adjustment that's not just every 32nd of an inch? Well, this system allows you to do that as well. You can use this dial to move your fence closer or further away from the blade by a thousandth of an inch. Every click is a thousandth of an inch. This is moving towards the blade and away from the blade. So that's sort of the basics about how the mechanical positioner works with the fence, and pretty much the use of the table saw fence portion of the system. It gives me 32 inches of rip capacity. So next, let's flip it around and set it up for the router table, and I'll show you all of the accessories for that. So this is the router fence setup. This section that I just put on is called the Wonder fence, I believe. It has in the fence dust collection. You hook up your dust collection hose here, as well as a stop block that also works off of the Incra mechanical system. Every 32nd of an inch you can adjust this. The fence halves itself are adjustable with these screws that are in here. So you can adjust the width of the opening for different size router bits. I believe it goes up to 4 inches, so you can put a 4-inch like panel raising bit in there or something like that. The fence also has an offset feature, which allows you to do edge jointing. So to take your fences out of coplanar, in order to do some edge jointing, the system comes with this little scale. And to adjust each fence half, there are screws inside of here, and you use this little Allen driver that is provided with the system. Loosen them up. And then you can slide your fence to whatever offset you want. Tighten the screws back up, and then you can edge joint. So the thing that is really cool about the router table setup is all of the different joinery options that you can do with it. You know, you think of cutting, well, dovetails, for example, with a router, and you think of a regular router jig that you run your router along, and your router moves along the jig. The jig doesn't move along the router. Well, this system comes with this book. It shows you how to do all of the different joinery types. It also comes with all of these templates, which slide into the mechanical arm. to cut all of the different types of joints. I think there are 11 different types of box joints and 40 dovetail joints, half-line dovetails, through dovetails, sliding dovetails, double dovetails, all kinds of dovetails. It's ridiculous. The book, it looks pretty big, but the actual instructional part of it is pretty short. Most of the book talks about the templates themselves. So this is one of the template descriptions that's within the book. It gives you all of the information that you need to be able to use that template. So it shows you the template that you're looking at, the bit type that you need, so you need a 1/4 inch dovetail bit that's set at 7.5 degrees, the approximate depth of cut that you'll be making, the spacing to set the cut, where to start, your center cut, the rabbet depth, the approximate stock thickness that this particular template will work with. Using the templates are pretty straightforward. You just slide them into the mechanical arm. Each template has different colored sets of numbered lines on them, and those colored and numbered lines represent the cuts that you'll make to create the joinery that you're doing. The colors designate one board, while the numbers designate the cut on the board. So in order to, say, cut a dovetail joint, you would start on one of the colors, whichever one it said to start in the book, and make all of your cuts on those lines. You can see how easy it is to line these up perfectly every time because of the mechanical lead screw. I'm actually doing this through the camera right now. I'm not actually looking at the fence itself. And it automatically puts the fence where it needs to be. So once you finish with that board, you go back and you do the next set of lines, which would be the opposite color for the board that you're joining to the one that you just cut. And you go through until all of the pins and tails are cut. Another nice thing about this system is that when you are doing joinery, you aren't stuck only cutting joints on one board at a time like you are on a typical dovetail jig where you run the router along it. With this system, it comes with this, I think they call it the right angle fixture, but you can clamp however many boards you need to onto this. Run it through the bit, make your adjustment on the template, run it through the bit again, make your adjustment, and run it through the bit again. So it's pretty quick as well. The only thing that I don't care for about this system is when I do need to make a wide rip cut, this mechanical arm protrudes far off the side of my saw. And in a small shop, you can see that gets in the way. So what I have to do is turn my saw around. Now I can make those wide rip cuts. Hopefully they aren't too long though. Alright, so that is my Incra TSLS joinery system. What I really like about it, and the reason that I purchased it originally, was for the accuracy and the repeatability. Originally I purchased it when I was working on a old Delta contractor style saw that I bought off of Craigslist. The fence wasn't great, and the adjustments on it were even worse. So I purchased this system to replace that, and I thought it would be a great way to help save space in my shop with the router table and the extension wing, and using the same fence for both the table saw and the router table. And it's worked out really well for me. I haven't found any reason not to like it. It can be kind of cumbersome taking this fence on and off all the time. It's certainly larger than a regular T-style fence is, but nothing's perfect, right? Anyways, if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends and give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.